So I have some darker news from my neck of the woods, that is Vietnam. We just had a holiday weekend. It was a long weekend that marks the unification of Vietnam, the liberation. It's when they finally beat us. It's when they got the Americans out of here for however long before it took for me and my colleagues to come out here and sort of colonize the place on our own. But it's a long holiday weekend, and traffic accidents are a big problem here. And so what happened is that this was in the Kim Lien underpass, which is it's kind of central. It's an important part of Hanoi, the streets, and everyone's gone through it. It used to be part of my daily commute. I would go under this tunnel, and I was always kind of nervous about it. I've always been kind of a nervous person with driving out here. But anyway, two 43-year-old women were killed when a white Mercedes, driven by a 39-year-old man, hit them at around 12:10 a.m. And he kept going. He just kept speeding on through to the next street, Daikovia. And the police caught up with him and found out that he had been drinking, and he was charged with their deaths. And this just happened a few days ago, and it was just so scary to hear that. 12:10 a.m., I got rid of my moped. I've been on my bicycle now. It's been a very good idea. I've been a lot happier with it. It takes me longer to get places, but I also feel much safer. I can also use pedestrian routes and everything. Just because the motorbike is faster with no traffic doesn't mean that it's faster, because as soon as you're trying to get somewhere, the streets here are notoriously crowded. And there have been so many traffic accidents this year. But just in the last, I couldn't find the direct statistics of that for 2019 so far, but just in this last holiday weekend from April 27th to May 1st, 96 dead in total in Vietnam. Now, please understand that it's not like America, where if they see someone on a motorbike, they pull them over and write them a ticket. I remember seeing a story that caused me certain culture shock when I realized that there was a family, and I think it was Minnesota. They didn't have a helmet on their child on the motorcycle, and they got charged with that. When that's just such a daily occurrence you see every day out here in Vietnam. And it's funny because you see parents riding with their children, and they will put masks on the children to prevent them from breathing in the toxic air, the very bad pollution that's out here, but they will neglect to put the helmet on the child. And sometimes you'll even see 4 or even 5 people, like 2 parents and 3 kids crammed onto one moped, none of them wearing helmets. I've seen that. People also text while they're on their bikes. I mean, I have a hard time. I don't know if it's just a motor skills or what, but even driving a car, I have a hard time sending a text message. With a moped, it's a lot harder to drive, I think. You have to worry more about your balance. There is so much unpredictable stuff. People jutting in front of you. Every day that I drive out here, not a day passes where I don't feel like I'm stuck behind someone who has never driven before. Or it kind of reminds me, I used to go to the skating rink in Wisconsin on the weekends at grad school. And it was great when it was just adults there, but whenever they allowed kids into the skating rink, whenever there was a group of kids, it made everything dangerous, because I was always watching just 2 feet in front of me before one of these little kids gets in my way. So you have to worry about your speed, you have to plan everything. And the driving habits that I've seen in Vietnam, as well as what I've seen in Korea and China and Saudi Arabia, driving is nothing like it is back home. In America, I just remember this total feeling of paranoia. Always have to stop at the stoplight, can't go too fast or anything. I've only been pulled over once out here in Vietnam. They let me go right away because I didn't speak Vietnamese. Quite simple. I think I was wearing a helmet or something, but had it been in the States, there would have been all this other stuff that I had to go through. I think in the States, at least in Wisconsin, you have to get a special license just to ride a motorbike. And I don't have that, I just have the car one. Anyway, horrible stuff to consider that 2 women were killed in the Kim Lien underpass. It's so strange. You drive by these places all the time, and on some level, whenever I get behind the wheel, I'm always thinking, this could be it. You can never lose sight of how dangerous it actually is. And I've been in a few accidents on mopeds out here. I've hurt myself. I dislocated my shoulder once. I've had a few cuts and bruises, but that's why I keep to the bicycle now. I'm not so interested in driving, and I'm thankful for that. It's sort of like the fun wore off after the first couple of years when I got used to just driving, and then you get stuck in cloudy traffic for long enough, and it's really not that fun at all. Anyway, there's another story, and this one is out of Ho Chi Minh City, and this is from last month, the Vietnam Insider, and it's the story of an American, Shane Denoon, 41 years old, resident of Ho Chi Minh City. He's now serving 3 years in prison, and it's because when he was blackout drunk, he crashed into a 50-year-old woman on her bicycle, and this man was on a motorbike, I believe. And this 50-year-old woman died. And this man woke up in the hospital. He was blackout drunk. He couldn't remember anything. And then it came to him, oh yeah, well, he crashed into some 50-year-old woman and she died from a result of that. And so now I guess it's just 3 years. I think that's kind of a light sentence. If this had happened in the United States, it would have been much more than 3 years, I think. One disturbing thing that I found is that this individual gave $9,000 and it got his sentence shortened. When you think $9,000 really isn't that much, but it was enough to get him some leniency. And so right now he's in prison. And I went on his Facebook page. It's hard to say what's real, what's not. Of course, there was some trolling on it and some announcements from people that look like they're really his family or something, saying, well, we've got he's talking to the embassy every month. He at least gets to talk to the ambassador or something. He at least gets some visitors, but otherwise it's very restricted. It's not like Otto Warmbier. It's not like he's put in a labor camp or something. It's just a prison. Now, I've never been inside a prison in Vietnam, and I hope I never get to, but I doubt it's as bad. For what it's worth, I also thought it was kind of funny. On the page you see him, and he just looks like any typical American guy. He's nice clothes, cute girlfriend. I think she is Thai or something, but he just looks like any of these guys, any of these blokes that you would see just at any expat bar. And I'm sure many people just like him have driven home blackout drunk and not faced the consequences. But we see here that, now he's in prison for 3 years, and that's really sad. It's really sad, especially for the family, the 50-year-old woman. Even though they've got their $9,000, which really isn't enough for what happened to them, it's still a life-shattering experience. This individual, Mr. Denoon, had no license. He was not qualified to be on the bike at all. And again, thinking about his Facebook page, they've got the picture of him with his friends. It just looks normal, Asian girlfriend. And there's one picture of him, still drinking a beer. And I thought that was kind of tasteless. They're going to put up a whole new Facebook page for him. Why have a picture of him drinking it up? Anyone who gets blackout drunk behind the wheel and causes a fatality like that, stop. No more. You are not allowed to have alcohol. That's my thinking on the whole thing. And for what it's worth, I can look at his situation and feel grateful. And those of us who are out here similar to him, we can say, okay, as difficult as things get, at least we haven't caused this. And I can't imagine something worse, something more horrifying than waking up in a hospital bed, which I have done. I'm quite familiar with waking up in a hospital bed, not knowing what had happened exactly. But the only thing that can make that worse is if someone comes up to you and says, oh, by the way, your reckless actions got someone killed last night. Praying for everyone involved, including the individuals at the Kim Lien underpass. I don't know if I mentioned it was two 43-year-old Vietnamese women and a 39-year-old Vietnamese man. In Ho Chi Minh City, it was an American man, 41, hit and killed a 50-year-old Vietnamese woman on her bicycle. And traffic statistics are just terrifying out here in Vietnam. So avoid driving at whatever cost. Learn to walk. Get a bicycle. I don't know. It'd be nice if they finished their high-speed rail system, which is just a ghost, which I see people working on every day. I've seen them working on it for 3 years, and yet it's not finished yet. I think there is a definite need for better public transit and for people to avoid driving and certainly to avoid the bottle here in Vietnam. Thank you. Over and out.